In this video we'll talk about how an experienced driver, so if you have a driving experience from other country and then here you're looking for a driving license, so how can you approach this Swedish driving license exam. So theory is common for both the beginners as well as experienced people. So for theory I've created a separate video link will be in the description, so you can go through this go through the video and then see how you can prepare for the theory. I have given more information about the free resources available and so on, so please check that video. So once you know the theory, then you are very familiar with the traffic rules, road signs, roundabouts, etc. I would say it's easier for beginners to pass the exam than the experienced ones. Yes, you heard it right. Beginners can pass. It's more likely that the beginners will pass it in the first attempt than the experienced ones, and I'll tell you the reason why. For people who are experienced, they subconsciously build a habit. So they have this. So while driving, they even if they are not aware, but there are some habits which they already have, and they might not be. They can be treated as bad habits, bad driving habits. So to pass the exam, you need to break those habits and create new habits that are in line with the Swedish driving license exam. I can give an example. An example is like checking the blind spots before lane change or before lane merge. So these things, once we get used to driving, once we have been driving for many years, we kind of ignore them. But when you are giving a Swedish driving license exam, this is the utmost important. So out of habit, you may not check it, or out of experience you know that there is nothing in the blind spot, so you don't check it. But if you don't check it, even if there is nothing there, you will be failed. So that's why these things like blind spots, and also one more example is indicators. So in over here, if you exit a roundabout, you should indicate before exiting. So sometimes we may get carried away and we just don't indicate and we just exit. But if you do that during the exam, you may get failed. So that's why for people who are experienced in driving, so these things may seem not so important, but these are very important during a driving license exam. So these habits that we already have, where we don't do these checks, we need to break these habits and we need to make new habits where we check the blind spots and we indicate before exiting and so on. So that's why in that sense I said that it will be difficult for a experienced guy to clear the exam in first attempt compared to the one who is learning from the beginning. For the beginners, it's completely from scratch. So whatever they learn, it will become part of their muscle memory. But for experienced people, it will be like they need to break their old habits or wrong habits and then build new habits. So that's why it might be difficult, but I'm not saying it's impossible to pass it in first attempt. You can definitely do that. There are many cases where an experienced people during the exam, they drive everything correctly, they maneuvered everything perfectly, but still they failed the exam because in the exam they don't check how perfectly you did everything. They only check for every maneuver, did you take the necessary safety checks or not. So if not, then they'll fail you. So that's why for experienced people, it's important that it's not just the perfection, it's also about safety. It's more about safety than about perfection. So that's why you have to bring this safety thing into your driving practice. So I can give 3 areas where you can focus more, because that is mostly the areas where experienced people make mistakes. The first one is speed. So on different roads have different speeds. So priority road, and then you have residential area, and then the country roads, and also the highway. So in those roads, you should drive at speeds below the speed limit. So sometimes it's possible that there are the other road users, they are not traveling at the speed, they are traveling at a much higher speed because the road is vacant and so on. But that doesn't entitle us to drive at a higher speed. So even if the traffic is going at a higher speed, during your exam, it's a good idea to not exceed the speed limit. Instead, try to keep within the speed limits. So keep an eye on the speed whenever you are driving, and try not to exceed the speed limit. And in residential area, it's like 30 speed limit, but there you should not exceed 25, because 1 kilometer above 30 would be a fail in the exam. So speed limits is something which you must be very much aware of. And the second one is blind spots. Yes, the blind spots are very, very important during a Swedish driver license exam. So even if you change a lane successfully without any problem, but still if you have not checked the blind spot, you'll be failed. So every time when you move your vehicle sideways, it could be a lane change, it could be a turn or anything, you should always check the blind spot. So make this habit during practicing to check the blind spot every now and then, and not miss any blind spot. So make this a new habit. If you're not already doing that, make this a new habit during your driving practice or during your like driving and so on. Third most important point is indicators. So here you have to indicate, you have to tell your intention to the other road drivers using the indicators. So it's mandatory to indicate before exiting a roundabout. So sometimes the experienced people, out of their habit, they just exit the roundabout without indicating. So if you do it even once, you'll be failed. So, and then stop line, you should stop within the stop line, you should not cross it. And then the red lights, if you see a red light or if you see a yellow light and you're trying to cross it at a speed and then suddenly it turns red just before you cross it, then you may fail. So in an exam, treat the yellow light as a red light. So if you see a yellow light, just stop it, it's no problem. And one more important thing is mock test before the exam. So I would suggest, even if you're an experienced driver, take at least one mock test before your real exam, because that would ensure that you get the confidence, and if you still make any mistakes, that will ensure that you have time to cover those mistakes and clear your exam easily. And normally these mock tests, they cost like 900 crowns from a driving school, but if you fail your real exam, it costs like 1500 crowns. You have to again book another exam, as well as if you don't get the slot, then you might also have to give theory exam again. So it is a hassle. So instead of that, take mock tests before the exam and build that confidence. Okay, one more point: if you are planning to give the exam without any driving school or without any private teacher, without any classes from a driving school or without any private teacher, and you are already experienced, then I think it can be done. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but you need to have a good idea on what will be asked during the exam, and what are the preparations, and how you can prepare well for the exam, and so on. I shared a video on the tips to pass your exam in the first attempt. I would recommend you to check that video, and then whatever tips are mentioned there, you can build those practices during your driving. Let's say you come from another country, you have 1 year of license, where you can you have 1 year to drive with your old license. So in that 1 year, try to build these good practices. Check the tips, try to build these practices, try to implement these practices in your driving, and then once you are good, maybe I would still say it's good to take at least one mock test before the real exam, because mock tests are really helpful to know your level, what exactly is missing, what you need to focus on, and so that it becomes easier for you to clear your driving license in first attempt. And I would suggest, if you have a chance, then do it in first attempt, because once you fail, it's again a hassle to book another slot, and then if you don't get the slot, then again you have to book a theory and then practical. It's a big hassle. So instead of that, try to focus on clearing it in first attempt, and if needed, you can take more mock tests. If you're not confident yet, take one more mock test, give some time, again practice, and then take another mock test. So once you're confident in the mock test, I'm sure like 90 out of 100 times you'll pass the real exam as well. And if you have this 1 year where you can practice with your old license, then I would say make use of the opportunity, hire a car or rent a car, and then do this practice. In this practice, I shared a video on details on tips, what you need to do, but still I can just give a small overview here. Check my other video, but this will be like so for experienced driver, the most important things are checking the blind spots. So you should always check the blind spots before turning the vehicle sideways. It could be a lane merge, lane change, turning right, turning left, in a roundabout where you're changing a lane, etc. And then speed, you should not exceed the speed. So this is a common problem with experienced guys. They always out of their previous habit, they don't check the speedometers, and then they cross the speed limit. So here it is very, very strict not to cross the speed limits. So especially on a residential area, the speed limit is 30. So if you cross 1 kilometer more than 30, you will be failed. So it's a practice. Make this habit of checking the speed every now and then, not crossing the speed limit at all. And then eco driving and so on. So those details you'll check in my other video, eco driving and all, whatever I am mentioning here. And then the other thing is indicators. So here the signal in a roundabout, before turning, everything, it's mandatory. So here you should not skip the signal. So out of your habit, you might skip indicating and then just taking the turn, or just exit the roundabout. But here it's definitely necessary to do that, and during your exam you have to do that. And if you don't do that, you'll fail during the exam. So it's important to check the indicators. And one more thing is you can improve your observation skills. So for that also I created a separate video. You can check my other videos. I'll share the link in the description. So in short, like, if you want to improve your observation skills, so first thing is you need to observe how other people are driving here. So if, be it your friend or someone who has a license who is driving, you can just sit beside them and observe how they are driving. Or if you have access to a bus, SL bus, then you can just take a ticket and then just sit in the front seat and observe how the driver is driving, and observe the roads, observe the road signs, and so on. So that way you become familiar with the road signs, familiar with the road, familiar with how people are driving. So those things eventually help you to follow and inspire you, and then it will help you to help you during your driving license exam. Thank you.